DEA Los Angeles Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Ted Salome. Thank you all for being here. Because of COVID restrictions, I'm going to ask that the majority of you please take a seat while we go through my remarks, and I'll invite individuals back up on the stage for comments. Thank you. We're here today to announce the unsealing of a federal indictment by a grand jury in the Southern District of California, which charges 17 foreign nationals in facilitating drug trafficking, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. This is part of a worldwide law enforcement operation that has resulted in hundreds of arrests for drug trafficking, money laundering, firearms violations, and crimes of violence. These international arrests and the U.S. charges were possible because of a San Diego-based FBI investigation like none other in history. This investigation, called Operation Trojan Shield, shined a light into the shadowy industry of hardened, encrypted devices. For the first time, the FBI developed and operated its own hardened encrypted device company called ANOM, A-N-O-M. As we allege in our indictment, criminal organizations and the individual defendants that we have charged purchased and distributed ANOM devices in an effort to secretly plan and execute their crimes. In fact, ANOM's distributors, administrators, and agents had so much confidence in the secrecy of their devices that they openly marketed them to other potential users as designed by criminals for criminals. But the devices were actually operated by the FBI. The worldwide implications of this investigation are staggering. In total, the criminals sold more than 12,000 ANOM encrypted devices and services to more than 300 criminal syndicates operating in over 100 different countries. This was an unprecedented operation in terms of its massive scale, innovative strategy, international coordination, and investigative achievement. Operation Trojan Shield has shattered any confidence criminals may have through the use of hardened encrypted devices. Transnational criminal organizations flock to these devices because they provided, until now, an impenetrable shield against law enforcement surveillance and detection. And the hardened encrypted device companies have catered to criminal groups for years, lining their pockets with the proceeds of drug sales, money laundering, and corruption. The San Diego-based investigation team developed a unique expertise in investigating these companies. It began in 2016 when the San Diego FBI and this office began investigating a Canadian company called Phantom Secure, which sold its hardened encrypted devices exclusively to members of criminal organizations. In the Phantom Secure case, over 10,000 criminal users had their devices shut down when the executives were indicted by a grand jury in San Diego. Undeterred, the criminal users moved from Phantom Secure to other platforms, including Sky Global and EncroChat. Meanwhile, Operation Trojan Shield put another device on the market through ANOM, and every single person who used ANOM used it for a criminal purpose. The criminals using these devices believed they were secretly planning crimes far beneath the radar of law enforcement. But in reality, the criminals were not underneath the radar, they were on it. The FBI was monitoring those conversations. The very devices that the criminals used to hide their crimes were actually a beacon for law enforcement. The criminal users didn't know that for more than 18 months, the FBI captured more than 27 million messages between users around the world who had their criminal discussions reviewed, recorded, and translated by the FBI, until the ANOM platform was taken down yesterday. When Europol brought down EncroChat in July 2020, the FBI saw an increase in the demand for ANOM. And when FBI indicted Sky Global Sky Global CEO, in March of this year, the demand for Anim among criminal groups exploded as they sought to find the next brand of device safe from law enforcement intrusion. During the last 24 to 48 hours, in addition, there have been more than 500 arrests around the world. Authorities have searched more than 700 locations, deploying more than 9,000 law enforcement officers worldwide, and they've seized multi-ton quantities of illicit drugs. Grand totals for the entire investigation include 800 arrests and seizures of more than 8 tons of cocaine, 22 tons of marijuana, 2 tons of methamphetamine and amphetamine, 6 tons of precursor chemicals, 250 firearms, and more than 48 million in various worldwide currencies. Unsurprisingly, a review of the messages from this platform by the FBI and share with counterparts overseas uncovered evidence of narcotics smuggling and other crimes. Some examples of what you have probably seen through the unsealed documents are as follows. In February of 2021, according to a search warrant we unsealed yesterday, 2 Anim users, one believed to be in Armenia and the other in Australia, discussed the likely shipment of 6 kilograms of cocaine from Carlsbad to Australia, using a legitimate business address as the sender to try and conceal the illicit deal. This is based on conversations between 2 Anim users, including the exchange of an invoice from a Lowe's in Carlsbad and a picture of bricks of cocaine. Just a few weeks ago, a transnational criminal organization used Anim devices to plan a shipment of cocaine from Costa Rica to Spain. The cocaine was to be imported via a shipping container concealed within hollowed-out pineapples. The FBI reviewed the messages, which contained specific details regarding the shipment and distribution once it arrived in Spain. Suspected container arrived in Spain on May 12, 2021. Law enforcement officials in Spain conducted a search and located approximately 1,595 kilograms of cocaine. In April of 2021, a transnational criminal organization used Anim devices to orchestrate a shipment of 1,401 kilograms of cocaine from Ecuador to Spain to be imported via shipping containers concealed within refrigerated fish. And in yet another instance, in October of 2020, Anim users exchanged messages about hiding cocaine in cans of tuna. This information was passed to U.S. authorities in Brussels, who worked with law enforcement in Belgium to search the suspected container. Upon completion of the search, law enforcement located approximately 613 kilograms of cocaine, and information identifying the Ecuadorian tuna company was passed to law enforcement in Ecuador, which resulted in an additional seizure of approximately 1,523 kilograms of cocaine located in a container destined for Belgium. And today, we are announcing the unsealing of a federal grand jury indictment charging 17 alleged distributors of Anim. These defendants are charged with violating the Racketeer, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act, known as RICO, for their alleged involvement in marketing and selling thousands of Anim devices, specifically to transnational criminal organizations worldwide. The indictment alleges that all defendants knew that the devices they distributed were being used exclusively by criminals to coordinate drug trafficking and money laundering. The defendants personally fielded wipe requests from users when devices fell into the hands of law enforcement. All defendants are foreign nationals located outside of the United States, and today, FBI agents and foreign law enforcement partners arrested 8 of the indicted defendants. The others are fugitives. The success of Trojan Shield was realized through unrelenting efforts provided by the FBI, the DEA, Australian Federal Police, Europol, law enforcement entities from multiple countries to dismantle criminal networks. The cooperation was historic and undeterred by the COVID pandemic. The following countries participated with the United States in Operation Trojan Shield and coordinated through Europol: Australia, Austria, Canada, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Germany, Hungary, Lithuania, Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Scotland, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. Thank you to these partners. I would also like to thank our team members at the United States Attorney's Office who have dedicated long hours and several years to this investigation. This includes Assistant United States Attorneys Megan Heesh, Josh Meller, Michaela Weber, Shauna Pruitt, Mark Pletcher, Paralegal Tracy Jarvis, former AUSAs Andrew Young and Ben Katz, and our former United States Attorney, Robert Brewer. Thank you all. I would now like to call FBI Special Agent in charge of the San Diego office, Suzanne Turner.
Good morning. I'm Suzanne Turner, Special Agent in charge of the San Diego Field Office, and I want to thank Randy Grossman, the Acting U.S. Attorney, for hosting us here today, and our domestic and international partners that have joined us. Today marks a culmination of more than 5 years of strategic, innovative, complex investigative work to disrupt and dismantle encrypted communication services that cater to the criminal element across the globe. This is Operation Trojan Shield. Law enforcement actions in the recent days have not only targeted the encrypted communication platforms themselves, but those marketing, distributing, and the users utilizing the services to further their criminal activity. The San Diego FBI worked this investigation in collaboration with the Attorney's Office here, our federal partners, and multiple international partners. The San Diego FBI worked the Operation Trojan Shield was an innovative approach to an ongoing, evolving, and complex problem law enforcement continues to face every day: how to infiltrate closed, encrypted communication devices utilized solely and exclusively for criminal activity. Some of the most significant advances in cybersecurity have been the development and advanced encryption techniques used as valuable in everyday life. Encryption helps protect us from cyber criminals and safeguards our personal information, which helps us feel confident that we are operating in a safe and secure environment. However, encryption also allows the criminals to operate in the same safe, secure environment, hiding their communications in a cloak of secrecy. Enabling criminals to operate behind a digital shield inhibits law enforcement's ability to prevent and detect crime before it happens. Once the crime has already taken place, law enforcement's ability to collect evidence is greatly diminished. Investigators from around the globe continue to encounter criminals who rely heavily on the ability to hide inside these closed, encrypted platforms. Which brings us back to Trojan Shield. Following the San Diego FBI's takedown of the Canadian-based company Phantom Secure in 2018, the investigative team observed the Phantom Secure customers quickly moving to other distributors in the marketplace. One of those was Canadian company Sky Global. Rather than just focusing on Sky Global, the investigative team wanted to exploit a significant vulnerability for the criminal organizations: the need for closed encrypted devices. Realizing the marketplace is a small, close-knit community, the investigative team came up with an innovative solution to exploit the criminal organization's vulnerability, which was to create our own closed encrypted platform to offer to the criminal organizations, a Trojan horse of sorts. The creation of our own encrypted platform, known commercially as ANOM, was set up as a new competitor device to provide an option to Phantom Secure users, Sky Global, and other criminal organizations looking for new encrypted devices. Some of the Phantom Secure users found ANOM and began using the platform. Other criminal organizations, through word of mouth, started to utilize the platform also. Then in March of this year, the investigative team indicted and dismantled Sky Global, driving their customer base elsewhere. Some of these customers also came to the ANOM platform to utilize it to further their criminal activity. Closed encryption devices may look like an ordinary cell phone, but in fact they are stripped of any outside application. There's no GPS, no email, no connect to Facebook. The only practical use is for secure messaging. It's a closed loop environment, meaning you can only message those who have the same brand device. Most importantly, you cannot walk into a Verizon or AT&T store and purchase one of these devices. You must know somebody who sells them and be vetted by them. The results of this platform have never been seen before in law enforcement circles and criminals worldwide. In the time the FBI's Anom platform has been up and running since October of 2019 till now, we have had more than 12,000 devices sending more than 27 million messages across more than 100 countries in over 45 different languages. Each and every device in this case was utilized to further criminal activity. That is 12,000 devices that are utilized to further the criminal organizations. The users were upper echelon, command and control of over 300 transnational criminal organizations and their various international illegal transportation and distribution networks. Here in San Diego, a federal grand jury indicted 17 foreign nationals for RICO violation and their roles in facilitating drug trafficking, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. These were the most prolific distributors involved in marketing and selling thousands of Anom devices to the criminal organizations. The FBI's encrypted platform Anom was specifically designed for remote law enforcement collection of messages. The FBI received a copy of each and every message originating outside the United States that crossed our platform, similar to a blind copy of an email. The gathered intelligence was provided to the FBI on a regular basis pursuant to international cooperation agreements. The information was reviewed by the FBI for criminal activity and disseminated to our partner law enforcement agencies in over 40 countries. As you have already heard from press conferences late yesterday and early today from our partners in New Zealand, Australia, and Europe, the amount of intelligence that we received was staggering. From seizing drugs, guns, and millions of dollars in multiple currencies, to addressing more than 150 threats to life. More than 300 people were arrested in advance of the worldwide takedown based on the intelligence from the FBI platform. During yesterday's global takedown, more than 500 subjects were arrested and authorities searched more than 700 locations, deploying more than 9,000 law enforcement officers worldwide. The platform was also used by corrupt law enforcement officials to communicate with transnational criminal organizations, pass sensitive information, and notify them of pending law enforcement action. These crimes resulted in the arrest of 6 law enforcement officers yesterday and a dozen of cases opened during the course of the investigation. Today's sweeping law enforcement action is a direct result of all the participating international and domestic partners and their representatives that brought to bear individual skills, abilities, and their specific law enforcement authorities. This serves as another example of what happens when you bring together dedicated law enforcement professionals with a comprehensive approach with advanced investigative tools to detect, disrupt, dismantle transnational organized crime. This should serve as a warning. Law enforcement worldwide can and does work together to combat crime across the international borders that impact our citizens worldwide. The FBI will continue to be a leader in the effort to combat transnational organized crime, as we've demonstrated today through this unprecedented global criminal disruption. I want to thank my investigative team here in San Diego, California, for the tireless dedication to this tremendously successful case. The unbelievable amount of effort, expertise, and management required for this complex endeavor is staggering, and I'm extremely proud of them. FBI Director Wray consistently encourages innovation and forward thinking to stay ahead of the threat. My team in San Diego has shown every bit of innovation and dedication the FBI is known for. We continue to lead the fight against the toughest of adversaries, the most complex issues, and the most challenging obstacles. The San Diego field office could not have done this case without the team of folks throughout the FBI. First, I want to thank the Criminal Investigative Division and the International Operation Division from our headquarters for the ongoing resources and coordination, the hundreds of personnel detailed to our office to review the more than 27 million messages. The analysts and linguists across the FBI provided their expertise, triaging and translating over 45 different languages, and our legal attaché offices around the world coordinating with our amazing international partners. I also want to thank our federal partners to include the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, the U.S. Marshals Service, and the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force for the ongoing partnership, commitment, and support. I want to specifically recognize the Australian Federal Police for their outstanding strategic partnership in recent years across many cases. Operation Trojan Shield came to life with the collaboration and the technical ingenuity they brought to the table. We would not be where we are today without them. And finally, I want to thank our numerous international partners around the globe for their dedication in working alongside the FBI to fight against transnational organized crime. Today, we revealed the most sophisticated effort in dismantling the activities of criminals around the globe. Let this serve as a warning to those criminals who believe they're operating under an encrypted cloak of secrecy. Your criminal communications are not secure. The FBI has brought together a network of dedicated international law enforcement partners who are steadfast in combating the global threat of organized crime. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Adam Cohen?
Good morning. My name is Adam Cohen, and I'm the Director of the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Forces at the United States Department of Justice, also known as OCDETF. The OCDETF program is the cornerstone of the U.S. Attorney General's prosecutor-led, intelligence-driven, multi-agency approach to illuminate networks, expand cases, and disrupt and dismantle large-scale transnational organized crime networks and narcotics trafficking cartels. Next year, we celebrate our 40th year of OCDETF's mission to make cases stronger through partnerships. OCDETF is effectively the largest anti-crime task force in the nation, combining and maximizing the strengths of over 570 prosecutors, 1,500 federal agents, 19 strike forces, and some 4,000 state and local police officers from over 700 departments in concentrated, long-term investigations to focus targeting, to coordinate effort, and to leverage intelligence and information sharing to disrupt and dismantle the operations of criminal networks. In the early fall of 2018, Operation Trojan Shield was designated as an OCDETF priority transnational organized crime case. While at any given time, OCDETF is managing some 5,000 prosecutor-led multi-agency cases, this investigation was specially staffed and specially resourced from the beginning. OCDETF's International Organized Crime Intelligence and Operations Center, or IOC2, supported Trojan Shield, as did the OCDETF Fusion Center. In the last few months, IOC2 ran products on over 650 targets, and the OCDETF Fusion Center found crossovers with over 125 federal criminal investigations. The investigative management efforts of Zach Turner's team at the FBI field office in San Diego and the prosecutorial leadership of Mr. Grossman's staff at the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of California have been nothing short of extraordinary. The complexity of this effort is only eclipsed by the strength of partnerships with our foreign counterparts, several of whom are here today. There are a number of measurable outputs from this incredibly complex long-term investigation. Tactical, actionable intelligence was derived in near real time, presenting interdiction opportunities to disrupt major drug trafficking, money laundering, and other criminal activity while the platform was active. Large amounts of illicit narcotics were seized, as well as firearms and millions in illicit proceeds. And importantly, hundreds of defendants were arrested around the world even before the coordinated international enforcement efforts of the last 48 hours. That said, as the director of the OCDETF program, I'm most impressed with the counter-network impacts of this investigation has had and has, as Operation Trojan Shield targeted the command and control elements of transnational criminal organizations. Arguably, the three most important outcomes of this operation may be that the 18 months of real-time intelligence gathered by law enforcement offering a crystal clear window into the operations of hundreds of criminal organizations, which will undoubtedly help to drive continued targeting of organized crime. The disruptive impacts on these criminal organizations as they try to determine the depth and the breadth of law enforcement's infiltration into their illicit operations, and the dismantlement of command and control hubs. Organizers, planners, and facilitators are not easily replaced in complex criminal networks, and Operation Trojan Shield is the perfect example of an OCDETF case which was driven by intelligence and maximizes the strength of partner law enforcement agencies in coordinated efforts to dismantle those criminal networks. In a time of increasing criminal globalization, technological challenges, and rapid evolution of criminal networks, OCDETF remains the targeting, coordination, and information sharing platform for addressing priority transnational organized crime threats and major drug trafficking organizations. It's a privilege to be here to acknowledge the international information sharing and operational collaboration demonstrated in Operation Trojan Shield. I commend the prosecutors at the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of California, the investigative teams of the FBI, the DEA, the Australian Federal Police, the British NCA, as well as our partners from Austria and Europol, and numerous other law enforcement agencies from over a dozen countries who all contributed to the successes of this remarkable operation. Thank you.
Thank you. Xenia Cotter, Australian Federal Police.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. Yesterday in Canberra, Australia, the Australian Prime Minister said that this was a watershed moment in global law enforcement history and a testament to what can be achieved through trusted international partnerships. And he was absolutely right. AFP's Operation Ironside is a long-term covert investigation into transnational organised crime that began through the trusted and long-standing relationship and partnership between the AFP and the FBI. This relationship helped spark an innovative idea to target organised crime. That idea today has made Australia a safer country. It began almost 3 years ago when the AFP developed cutting-edge capability that allowed law enforcement to access, decrypt and read messages that were sent on an encrypted platform that was being covertly run by the FBI. Police in near real time accessed messages sent between the criminal networks on that platform, a platform they believed was completely secure. The messages were uncensored. They revealed unprecedented insights into how organised crime works in Australia and internationally to move drugs, money, guns, and to organise murders. In the days of action between the 7th and 8th of June, more than 4,000 AFP and state and territory police were involved in executing 525 warrants in every mainland state in Australia. As of the 8th of June, the AFP has charged 224 offenders, seized 3.7 tonnes of drugs and nearly 45 million in cash, and prevented 21 people from being killed. Drugs and weapons have been removed from our streets, lives have been saved. This operation puts Australia at the forefront in the fight against dangerous, organised drug syndicate criminals whose greed corrodes our community and funds other crime. This law enforcement action will fracture and place these crime groups under significant pressure. The AFP now has years' worth of evidence from the platform and will continue to build briefs of evidence to charge those accused of trafficking and distributing drugs to Australia, both domestically and internationally. When Rhys Kershaw became the AFP Commissioner in late 2019, he warned criminals targeting Australia that the AFP would be relentless in bringing them to justice, that we would outsmart them. For the AFP, Operation Ironside is just the beginning. We will continue to work with governments and partner agencies to combat the enduring threat of organised crime, ensuring we continue to innovate and have the technology to disrupt and arrest those who seek to do Australians harm. I would like to thank all of those within the FBI and our allied law enforcement partners for the support, the commitment, the technical excellence that they have lent this long-term covert investigation. It has been a true global effort and we thank them. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think we now have some videos that we'd like to play from you from some of our international partners. First up is Rhys Kershaw, Australian Federal Police Commissioner.
I'm Rhys Kershaw, the Commissioner for the Australian Federal Police. The AFP and FBI have been working together on a world-first operation to bring to justice the organised crime gangs harming our communities with drugs, guns and violence. The FBI provided an encrypted communications platform while the AFP deployed the technical capability through Operation Ironside. This enabled the AFP to inflict maximum damage to transnational and serious organised crime, with devastating consequences against those who seek to harm Australians and Australia's interests. This week, the AFP and our state partners will execute hundreds of warrants and is expected to arrest hundreds of offenders who are linked to this platform. This is the culmination of hard work, perseverance, and an invaluable trusted relationship with the FBI. Operation Ironside has allowed the AFP to inflict maximum damage to transnational and serious organised crime. We thank the FBI for their long and successful partnership with the AFP. Crime is local, but when we work together, our reach is global. Thank you.
Next, Janine Vandenberg, the Chief Constable of the Netherlands Police Central Unit.
First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to contribute to this press conference on behalf of the Police of the Netherlands. It's an honor to jointly reveal the wonderful news about this incredible, innovative and advanced international operation. Together, we have managed to do it again, just like we did during the investigations into crypto communication services like Sky and EncroChat. We were able to intercept and read messages exchanged between serious criminals. This time via a communication service developed by the government itself. And that's amazing. My compliments. Such large-scale investigations can only be achieved if we join forces at the international level, with each country contributing its own unique expertise. The Central Unit of the Netherlands Police contribute by developing high-quality technological tools and making them available to the other participating countries, thus enabling the analysis and the interpretation of the millions of messages gathered. This provides us with a host of information about many national and international criminal organizations, and enabled us to further enhance the information we gathered during other crypto communication investigations. In the future, too, we will continue unabated to track down and dismantle criminal organizations, both nationally and internationally. Working together, we get the job done. Thank you.
Linda Staaf, Police Commissioner, Head of Intelligence of the Swedish Police.
The Swedish police has cooperated with the FBI as one of the first international parts in this operation. Thanks to valuable intelligence that the FBI has shared with us, we have been able to arrest a significant number of leading actors within the violent crime and drug networks in Sweden. The criminality spreads across borders, and international cooperation is crucial to fight serious crime. We highly appreciate this type of cooperation between police organizations.
And finally, Andrew Coster, New Zealand Police Commissioner.
Kia ora. I'm Andrew Coster, the Commissioner of New Zealand Police. Today we announced our involvement in a large disruption of organised crime in the form of one of the largest takedowns of an organised crime encryption network, Operation Trojan Shield. I'm very proud of the work that our police staff have done in this major international operation. It reflects the importance of our partnerships internationally, particularly with organisations like FBI, AFP, Europol and many others. The operation has been a tremendous success, and it underscores the importance of our relationships to disrupt organised crime, which this operation has achieved in a significant way.
I invite David Leshner, Deputy U.S. Attorney, and Suzanne Turner back to the stage. Due to the complex nature of the investigation and the involvement of dozens of countries and the ongoing nature of it, we will take a limited number of questions about our case and the indictment today. If you'd like to join me, Suzanne and David. Are there any questions?
Good morning. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm wondering, is this something you can replicate and do again? Now that Annam is down, do you just, and I don't know if that's better directed to special agents?
Yeah, I think that
That's
question
you.
is properly directed to Special Agent in charge Turner.
So, who knows, right? This will lead all of our criminals guessing of what company out there is actually a true secure company and which is run by potentially the government. So we obviously have the technical capability and obviously the international partners to work these types of cases in the future.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain the legal authority that you guys were able to do this and why you guys had to geofence the United States?
With respect to this operation, as noted in the press release, it was a lawful operation, and the foreign partners complied with their own legal requirements. I'm not going to get into the specifics of the legal bases for the operation, but as noted in the earlier presentations, the FBI throughout this operation was able to receive over 27 million messages sent between entirely criminal users of the Anon platform. That review resulted in substantial seizures of narcotics and arrests, as announced earlier today, involving 800 people.
Yes. You said that you used unsuspecting middlemen to distribute these devices to 300 criminal organizations. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you were able to overcome, were these cooperators, how were you able to overcome the skepticism for these organizations, which I imagine were quite reluctant to use new networks? And separately, what influenced your decision to take it down now?
Sure. I think that operational question is best addressed by Special Agent in charge Turner.
So as far as the takedown, this was a coordinated and a collective agreement or a discussion amongst our international partners based on the scope and the magnitude and the amount of transnational organized crime and the crime that was going on. This was a natural break or conclusion in taking this down and having an impact that you've seen across the United States. Your first question.
How you were able to win the
So
conference?
obviously this is an evolution from Phantom Secure, where we worked with the Australian Federal Police on that case, and there was an app already developed for the next use of encrypted technology, and we utilized the technical ingenuity from AFP and us working together and putting this platform together. The distributors are already out there. They're individuals who are pushing other products, and so it's word of mouth once we got some of these phones out there.
Yes, sir.
This is a matter of economics. If you charge 17 people distributing 12,000 plus devices, how much each device was sold to the market in the market for anybody? And will this mean, because 3 companies already have been disrupted, that they were in charge or doing this same typical similar business as Anon, how much of the devices were sold to? What was the role of these 17 people for that being indicted on the chart? And then what was the consequence of this?
I think I have all that. The indictment charges 17 defendants with conspiracy to violate the RICO statute. That is, agreeing to participate in the affairs of the enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. In this case, that racketeering activity includes drug trafficking, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. The indictment, which you will have and is publicly available, describes the roles of each defendant. Of the 17 defendants, 3 of them are described as administrators. They functionally control the Anon network. They could set up accounts and field wipe requests, for example. The other 14 charged defendants were distributors of the Anon devices. They used their existing connections among criminal enterprises to distribute the devices around the world. As you heard earlier today, there were over 12,000 devices distributed by these charged defendants and others, and over 9,000 devices were active at the time the entire platform was shut down.
How much was the devices?
As you will see it alleged in the indictment, the price for the devices depended on the region of the world in which they were distributed. For example, in the United States, it was approximately $1,700 for a 6-month subscription. Again, keeping in mind what Special Agent in Charge Turner mentioned to you, that the devices had extraordinarily limited functionality and really were, in the words of one defendant, designed by criminals for criminals exclusively. Yes, ma'am.
You guys had unprecedented access and insight into these operations. Was there anything reading these 27 million messages that surprised you?
I think that's a good operational question for Special Agent Charge Turner.
I think what surprised us or sort of reinforced how important these encrypted communications are is how open they were about planning. It was exactly what car was coming to what location, what maybe vessel or ship, and they were very explicit in their detail because they believed it was secure communications. So I don't think anything that organized crime is doing surprised any of the FBI, our international partners, but how brazen and openly they communicated because they believe this hardened, encrypted service and platform is secure.
I think I saw a question in the back. Yes, sir.
Yeah. If it's so successful, why take it down now? I know a lot of the arrests sound like they happened in the last 24 hours. Did it need to get taken down before you guys can make your moves and make the arrest?
So as I said, based on the scope and the magnitude of this investigation and how many transnational organized crimes were across the globe, we just discussed that this was an ideal time to take it down. Obviously, there are authorities that are connected to our platform that are renewed on a regular basis, and that was also coming up. And so we decided, based on the amount of crime that was occurring, the threats to life, it was time to get these criminals off the street.
One last question for me.
Well, I was going to say.
Let's just put it together, because why San Diego? Southern District has been involved since a few years on that. But this particular, from the United States, the whole situation comes to Southern District, is that correct?
That is correct. The Southern District of California was the location where the criminal investigation and indictment in the Phantom Secure case occurred. And as you heard earlier today, the takedown of the Phantom Secure network created a natural void and for an encrypted communication provider that would compete with other existing encrypted communication providers. So Trojan Shield was really the evolution of that process, and that is why it occurred in the Southern District of California. Yes, ma'am.
Could someone go back to the connection to the Carlsbad specific seizure that you mentioned? I don't know which one of you would rather talk about that. If you can just reiterate those details a little bit as far as,
Sure.
you talked about the specificity of this communication. Was this like, we're picking up from the lows in Carlsbad and we are headed to, if you can go back over that a little bit.
I can. No,
Okay.
I can. With respect to that particular communication, or communications, they involved an anon device and a proposed shipment of approximately 6 kilograms of cocaine from the Southern District of California, specifically Carlsbad, to Australia. And if you would like additional details for that, I would refer you to the search warrant affidavit that is available to you and I believe has already been published online, which provides additional information regarding that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure you're able to answer this because perhaps it's ongoing, but where is international terrorism in all of this as opposed to the kind of criminal enterprises you're talking about now? I can't imagine they're not using the same devices. And are you able to at least say, yeah, you guys ought to be on the alert as well because, you know, but why wasn't international terrorism included based on the nature of the devices?
I can say this. Anybody who is using an encrypted communication device should be on notice, as Special Agent in Charge Turner said, that their communications are subject to being intercepted by law enforcement, whether it's in the United States or internationally. With respect to the specific types of criminal activity that were discussed over the anon devices, over the course of those 27 million messages that the FBI reviewed, they passed on every message involving criminal activity to the appropriate country. And the specific indictment that we have today alleges drug trafficking, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. But all of the messages implicating criminal activity of whatever type were passed on to the appropriate authorities. And there are multiple ongoing investigations, both domestically and internationally. I'm not in a position to comment further about those ongoing investigations.
Yeah, as I said, I knew it was going to be a difficult question to answer based on, well, maybe there is something else going on. But whatever you gleaned, it's still ongoing.
There are multiple ongoing investigations, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I actually had a question for the Australian Federal Police. I don't know if you'd be able to answer. Thank you so much. There was a recent report that I think 150 organized criminals, mostly biker gangs, had infiltrated Qantas Airlines. Was that investigation related to this? Since we know the biker gangs were the main customers of this in Australia?
I can't confirm that, and I believe that's still ongoing, so we're not able to give further details. But it was interesting from what we observed of the users of the Anon application in Australia, predominantly organised crime, organised motorcycle gangs featured prominently. That's all I can say in relation to that.
Thank you.
Well, I got a couple. For the FBI, I think she mentioned about 6, I don't know if I heard wrong, 6 policemen were arrested, law enforcement. And also on the hearings, on the 27th, there were some assassinations, some murders. Can you specify that?
Yes, so I don't have the specific details, but we did, our platform did intercept law enforcement providing sensitive information to the transnational organized crime, and 6 individuals overseas were arrested based on our platform and the information they gathered from there. And on the threats to life, that's a high priority for the FBI and our international partners. And the messages were reviewed, and once we came across that information, it was immediately disseminated to the appropriate countries so that they could take whatever action was necessary to mitigate those threats to life. And luckily, we were able to have a window into these communications because we saved countless lives by reviewing this information and disseminating it to our partners.
Thank you all for coming. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to Kelly Thornton, but we appreciate you all being here today for this important press conference.
You okay? I need to get Susan. Suzanne, could you spell your